by Select Management, and I've been represented by 2 other companies as well. So I'm here to share all of the things about that.
Hi, all. I'm Joanna. I'll jump in. I'm a talent manager. I have my own boutique influencer talent management agency. Live in the lovely city of Denver, Colorado, and currently have a roster of men and women that are all multicultural, multi-generational, all sorts of diverse backgrounds and walks of life, focusing on verticals that are food, travel, and lifestyle, kind of like a little bit of health and wellness. I have been in the space for quite a long time and working for myself for about 11, 12, 13 years. So very excited to chat about all things talent management.
Hello. My name is Brianna Owsley. Thank you so much, Jade, for having me. I'm such a fan of Creator Tea Talk, and I'm just honored to be here amongst everyone. I am a digital media and influencer marketing professional and a client service executive at Whaler, a leading creator company. My personal passion is to include diversity, inclusion, and representation to brand campaigns and just provide my personal knowledge to creators. While I'm not a talent manager myself, I'm so excited to learn from everyone today and provide some of my ideas in today's conversation.
I can go ahead. Hello, everyone. My name is Kimia Kalbasi. I am an influencer who's been represented by a couple of different agencies, and most recently a modeling agency called Brand Talent. I am bi-coastal, so currently based in New York, but go back and forth between here and California. I've worked with also Splash PR and a couple other boutique agencies, and have also fully managed my own influencer partnerships. So definitely have worked on a hybrid model in that regard, and excited to chat with you all today.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mice. Well, first of all, I just realized we have an all-woman panel, which love that for us. It's like a precursor to Women's History Month. So love that. But I'm so excited to have all of you on the panel today. I think your insights are going to be very important to people on the talk. So with that said, I do kind of want to get started with what I feel is like the foundational question for this conversation, which is, what the hell do talent managers actually do? And how does it help creators and influencers? Anyone can take it.
Hey, so
Go
ahead. So I'm just going to jump right in. So with a talent manager, it's essentially a buffer or a middleman. That's what I like to think of it as, between talent and a brand, especially when it comes to negotiations, pitching, things of that nature. I like to also think of them as being like the bad guy going in to do the negotiation, so that the talent can kind of like save face and protect their image and relationship with the brand. The talent management agency is the one that goes in and essentially does all the dirty work, so then I can just come in and do what it is that the brand is looking to bring me on to do.
I'm going to piggyback on what Ashley said. Being, I think, the token talent manager here on the panel, we are not the first, obviously, connection and face of an influencer content creator's brand, but we are a very quick second follow on that after the brand has connected with the creator. Obviously, knows them on their platforms, on their socials, and is getting used to them and is interested in partnering with them on a brand collaboration, and then reaches out. In my mind, us managers are like, we are here to be as responsive and engaged and reactive to that, to express interest, get all the details, get the information about the project, scope, timing, usage, exclusivity, what's the budget that is being offered for this. And however you work with your talent manager and a creator, but have some sort of back and forth, so that when I bring it to my talent, I'm like, hey, here's the offer. And then kind of, as Ashley said, be that buffer between the brand, so we can play a little like good cop, bad cop, so to speak. If I'm trying to negotiate a higher rate, or if I've come in super high, just because why not? and maybe that was something that we were just working at and like came in too high, and to save face, I can say, well, let me just talk to the creator and then come back and say, oh, they're happy to do it for, your rate XYZ, whatever it is. So being that buffer, doing the negotiations, being incredibly responsive. Obviously our job here is to help close deals and to build and expand the influencer's business and profile and partnership opportunities. And the only way to do that is to just be responsive to brands from the get-go. So that's what I think a lot of our time is spent, and then continuing that into the project management. At least that's the role that I've taken on with my clients, helping them manage everything from looking at the agreement, getting that sorted, getting the brief, getting the messaging, any sort of questions that are answered. If there's any sort of things that are not clear, coordinating a call between the brand and my talent to have a direct conversation about, we don't understand this creative, or the brief doesn't make sense, or the concept feedback, like you guys are contradicting yourself from the brief, whatever it may be. And then basically being hands off until the creator has done the content. I pop back in to get it back to the brand. Again, some of that back and forth with edits, being that buffer, as Ashley said, either putting my foot down to be like, no, the agreement said, only one reel. You can't just like, gosh, would you mind, cross-posting that to TikTok? We did not agree to that. So being that buffer, being that person who gets to say no and kind of protect the face and the brand of the creator. And then I stay involved all the way through to the invoice and making sure that is paid.
I'll say another piece to add to that is what I've noticed with a lot of talent managers, and why I've seeked one with two, is they also help you with your strategy as far as your social profiles. I think a lot of us has managed our own social profiles for a long time, and sometimes we hit the wall and we don't understand why our content might not be performing. So your talent manager can kind of help with that. And then also with some special projects, right? So if you're looking to launch a newsletter, or you're like, hey, I want to launch a book, or I want to launch my own merch, usually talent managers either have some type of connection, or they can kind of help you with that as well, which sometimes for a lot of us is like a big relief.
Yeah, I'll also totally jump on all of that. I think with my manager, first of all, actually, with me as a person, I have so much going on. I do public speaking. I run a separate company, coaching creators separate from all of my paid social media work and or public speaking. And so to be able to run my business, my manager literally just manages anything relating to appearances in the media, paid partnerships, UGC content, speaking engagements. And then with anything related to press, I'll be like, hey, do you think this is a good opportunity? Is this podcast a good podcast for me to go on? And that's been pretty helpful for me just with my own time management. And also with negotiating and contracts, I'm good at it, but also, I mean, even though this is an all women panel here, my manager is a man and my whole team is women. So I was really hesitant at first, but he has been able to really negotiate hard, and that has been super nice as well. And so I also totally want to echo Jasmine on the ideating on special projects and holding me accountable. I'm working on writing a book proposal, and my managers are like, okay, Gigi, 5 pages each week. We need 50 pages by April 1st. And so having somebody hold me accountable is so helpful, because also whatever book deal I get, he's probably going to be the one negotiating it. And so he's just as invested in me and my longevity, as well as not just oh yeah, we're going to sign you and I'm going to take 15 to 20% of your deals coming in, but I care about you long term. Yes, I'm going to take all of that, but I'll help you with your strategy. I'll help you with your year-long plan, your 5-year plan. What's your 10-year plan? And that's something that you should absolutely ask talent if you're a talent manager. And if you're a creator, that's something you need to talk about with a talent manager before signing.
I love that. I want to actually go back to something that Ashley and Joanna had mentioned, because I know all of you kind of described in your own ways that talent managers, they're really there to help you craft and build your brand and grow your brand, whether that be, those initial creative briefs where you're figuring out the scope, the timing, the budget, or if you are trying to launch special projects, merch, build out your social media strategy, a book proposal, whatever that looks like. But I'm curious because I kind of heard it in how you described it. Ashley and Joanna, you kind of talked about the talent manager being the middleman or the bad guy or the person that kind of has to step in front of the creator to kind of protect them from, you know, whatever potential pitfalls come from working with a brand. I'm curious if you guys feel like that's something that you have to deal with often, kind of getting those kind of more negative experiences from brands, or is it something that you feel just kind of comes with the name of the game?
I'll chime in. I feel like it comes with the name of the game. That is, any sort of negotiation, be it sports, the world that we're in, Julia Roberts negotiating her next movie contract or, perfume thing, whatever she's doing. I feel like that's just the back and forth of negotiation. I feel like people forget that negotiation is a conversation. It is a back and forth. It's not just like a once off, we're interested, yay or nay. You have to, ask all the right questions and give your number on that one initial inquiry. But yeah, I totally feel like it's the name of the game, and the negative stuff obviously gets always more of the attention. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, but no, all in all, it's great and it's positive. It's just kind of the nature. It's not necessarily like if a brand is reaching out and saying, "Oh, can we cross post that Instagram reel to TikTok?" Like I understand the person that's asked me that has people up the chain that are on their neck to be like, "Oh gosh, we forgot to add this in." Like make the request. I know that 99.9% of the time it's not. I always have to remember it's not actually the person. Just as I'm managing my client and being the buffer, they are managing their client and being the buffer. So just trying to remember there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And to counter the sort of good cop, bad cop thing, we're also our creator and our talent's biggest hype woman, biggest cheerleader. We are also your therapist, but we are also, not only going to be that buffer, but we are going to hype up our clients and be like, here's exactly why Jessica is perfect for this campaign because I'm so intimately involved in her life and I know XYZ, this trip that she has coming up. This is how it would integrate. This is what she would do. In fact, I can give you some examples and I can just like close my eyes and talk very like authentically and organically about each talent and why it would be a great fit. So we're also, your biggest cheerleader and your loudest voice in rooms that you are not in, conversations that you are not in.
Yeah, so also with that, I think it does come down to it to being the nature of the game. Because there have been times where I've experienced like there's one set of negotiations and my team will come back and be like, listen, this is what's going on. Let me know if you're fine with this. All right, fine. And then we'll get our contract in, and there's something that's kind of been like slipped in the contract or something that's a follow-up email, like, oh, like you said, Joanna, oh, can we add this in or can we do X, Y, and Z? And I'm very much like, I need y'all to have all the details up front so that we're able to sit down and really hammer this out so that it's not too much back and forth. But like you said, negotiation is a conversation that is going to require back and forth. And it's actually funny, speaking on that, I tweeted earlier, for my fellow creatives, make sure you're reading your contracts and negotiating everything because everything in the contract is negotiable.
See, that is a great segue into my next question. What does a contract between the creator or influencer and the talent management agency actually look like? Are there certain things that creators and influencers should be keeping top of mind as they're reviewing those contracts? What does it kind of come down to?
So contracts vary from brand or agency to agency, brand to brand. But for the most part, it's literally an outline of what the scope is, the deliverables that you're agreeing on, the days that the campaign is scheduled to go live, how many pieces of content, payment details in terms of how much you're getting paid. Then is it net 15, net 30 breakdown? Are they paying 50% up front? Are they paying total amount at the end of the campaign once everything is delivered? I'm trying to think what else. Exclusivity is often on there. Usage terms. I think that's for the most part. Of course, I'm probably missing something, but I think that's like the basis of a standard contract.
Yeah, for my contract, it's basically like anything that involves an appearance or myself, my face, my likeness, my image, or my services as like Gigi not working as my business. I have to go through them. Actually, even today, a company came out and asked me like, hey Gigi, like they DM'd me on LinkedIn, we want to hire you like part-time to do UGC videos, but like we want you to be employed by our company. And I'm like, I have to run this by my manager. And they're like, no, but like your likeness isn't a part of it. That's not a factor. But sometimes when you get to a certain level as an influencer and when you're featured in the press and you do have a reputation, that does matter. And you're always going to have to loop in your manager regardless. So I did say that. We'll let you guys know in the future, like all about that. But literally, I loop my manager into almost anything that revolves around like me, my personal brand, and actually now my puppy, because I'm scaling his Instagram and socials as well. So
That's
that.
that's so iconic. Shout out to you, Gigi.
I think I'm the same as Gigi. When it comes to anything contract related, I think that's where I heavily get my manager involved. Reason being, like I fell into social media content creating. So there's a lot of things that I don't know. I don't know how to look out for certain logistics and things like that. But my manager knows exactly what to look out for. And I think luckily for me, I have a relationship whereby I trust my manager enough to make sure the small things are picked up on. I think as well, going back to what Ashley said, it varies from management to management, creator to creator. But I built up a rapport with my manager that I trust her enough to kind of go through the contracts and send it over to me. And then I just have to skim through it and read it. Like I don't have to sit down and heavily read through the contract because she kind of covers that basis. So I think depending on the relationship you have with your manager, um, I kind of trust her enough to kind of know that she's read through the contract. She's got everything that needs to be checked because she knows more than me initially. Hence why I need a talent management. A talent manager, because she has more wisdom than I do. So she kind of deals a lot with the things contract related, and I just kind of just do the skimming through and the signing.
Thank you for that. I'm definitely curious because I know, as a lot of you alluded to, there's a lot of trust that kind of goes into this relationship, especially if you're on the end where, you know, you don't even have to necessarily be a new creator or influencer, but just like you may not know every detail that kind of goes into building a brand relationship behind the scenes or a partnership behind the scenes. So I'm curious, in your experiences, do you guys feel that having a talent manager has either hindered you in terms of your personal brand, what you've been able to create as a creator, or has it only helped you?
I can speak to this. I think for me, when I became a creator and I got my first 100,000 followers and I saw a lot of people getting management, I cannot lie, y'all. I was thirsty for management. I was like, everybody has it in their bio. And from that point, I had two different talent managers and agencies that I work with, and it was a very big flop. It was like, you know what, it was very hard trusting someone. And I feel like it hindered, my overall personal brand. And so for a period of time, I worked on with myself. I think it's all about the talent manager that you have, because if you have an amazing talent manager, an amazing agency, and they do take the time to actually like go through your socials and talk through strategy with you and really like build a very strategic, but also like friendship with you, I really think it can help boost your brand. But if you have a talent manager that's just chasing the dollars and chasing like your next opportunity and not really being very personal with you, I think it does hinder, your overall performance, and it does hinder who you are, as a creator. There's so many creators now, and it takes a lot to stand out, but you definitely want to have somebody in the room that's fighting for you for these big brands. And it has to be someone that's genuine and really understands your brand. So I think it goes both ways.
I totally agree with you there. Like having somebody advocate for you that is genuinely interested is important. And I think, which I don't want to like prematurely go on to another subject, but a question that I asked my current talent manager before signing was, what are success stories you've had with other talent? How often do you pitch your talent? How successful have you been in helping your talent launch, whatever their personal dream or project is? And when I asked a different talent manager at a different talent agency those questions, she was like, I'm going to be upfront with you. I've never done any of this because I just started managing talent at this company 8 months ago. And so I was like, oh, okay. Like, not that she's not good, but I just think it is really important as the creator to be super upfront about what you're looking for, because if you don't and you go into something blindly, which I did do also back in 2021 with a management, because again, I got my first 100,000 followers and I was like, I need management. And they ended up basically just taking percentages of all of my inbound stuff. And they were like, I was like, why am I not getting more deals? And they're like, well, we keep pitching you to all these makeup brands and you have the look, but your content's not about it. And I was like, oh, well, that's because I'm not a makeup creator. So you really have to be aligned and upfront and say, look, I know the money might be in makeup. I'm not a makeup creator, so do not pitch me to makeup brands. And that talent management actually was like, Gigi, no, like we don't really see you going much further. And so I was like, okay, bye. And I left. And that's, you can totally leave at any time. So yeah, anyway, that's what I have to say on.
I just want to add on to what G just said, and I think what she said was being upfront with what you want. And for me, for example, as much as I was a social media content creator, I literally told my manager that beyond this, like my manager had to be concerned for even just me as a person, because there's going to be months where I don't want to work. And are you okay to still be my manager even when I'm not working, where it's just you making sure that I am okay? Because I think a lot of people also need to understand that as a content creator, you're not going to want to work every single month. And some management, if they're not getting the money in, they're dropping you. And like for me last year, I literally took time out because again, I was focusing on school. And my manager throughout my whole year out was helping me get into good universities. Like even when it wasn't social media related, she was still concerned about me as a person. So for me, when I was actually even getting with my manager, it wasn't even more about can you get me the money? It's are you concerned about me? Because even when the money stops rolling, are you going to still be on my team? When the money comes, are you still going to be on my team? So I think going back to what Gigi was saying, you have to know what you're looking for, because some people don't want a relationship, they want success. While with me, I don't care about the success because the success will come eventually, but I also want a relationship. So I agree with Gigi. And I think as a creator, you have to know what you want. Are you in it for success? Are you in it for a relationship? What are you in it for? And for me, I was more towards I needed a relationship with someone I could trust when I'm working, when I'm not working, when I'm low, when I'm high, because I think when you're a social media content creator, I feel like I'm doing life with you. It's not like a 9 to 5 where I'll come home and it's a separate life. Like it's a 24-hour job, I feel like. So I was looking for a manager that I could do life with, not just work with. But yeah.
Oh my God, Maggie. Literally, like, yes, everything that you just said, yes. I had a really hard summer from June to basically December, and I really was not working. And I was so unmotivated. And my manager just kept encouraging me. He's like, Gigi, it's okay. Take care of your mental health. I'll handle the brands. You need me to push back the date on your posts? You need an extension? Let me know. And having the trust and partnership in that manager to create that separation for me was life-changing. So I echo everything you're saying.
And just to piggyback off of what Maggie and Jasmine said, I really love how you guys like have the value and importance of having that trust and friendship with your management. I think that's so important as someone who works with both creators and talent management. I think having that space of constant communication and just checking in every now and then on like your goals and milestones, I think that's so important and goes such a long way of just this is the vertical that I want to go into, or I actually need space to kind of not work on this right now. I think that's so important.
Obviously, like trust is a huge word of the day for this moment here, and I'm curious to know how you guys have kind of approached this in your own right, because obviously for a lot of creators and influencers who are not necessarily kind of getting the outreach that they would be looking for, but they're definitely interested in getting a talent manager or being represented by a talent management agency. I'm curious if you think there is something that they should be looking for specifically when trying to find the right person to represent them.
I mean, I'll say this. I think for a lot of individuals, and I can speak for myself when I was seeking management at first. I think like majority of us, I was into the real DBAs and the Kensington Grays. But there's also a lot of talent managers and boutique talent agencies that are doing amazing work and that have the same connections and that works with amazing talent. I think when it comes to do your research, look at some of your favorite creators, your macro creators, but also look at some of your micro creators that have management and take the time to look at the agencies that they're with. I think one of the biggest pieces for me is when I looked for different talent agencies, like I wanted to look at their roster. And I also spoke, personally with those creators and said, hey, I'm thinking about joining this agency, or I'm interested in this agency. What has been your true experience? And you will learn from some of these creators that what you see is not what you will always get, but there are a lot of amazing agencies out there. And then two, there's a lot of individuals that are freelancers that are talent managers just themselves that are managing creators that are doing an amazing job and have those same connections as well. So I try to tell everyone, because I fell very short to this, is don't see all the glitz and glams of being with these big mega agencies, because with these big mega agencies, yes, you're getting to be under like the Monets, but at the same token, they probably have like 350 plus creators and you're probably at the bottom of the total poll versus someone else at a small boutique agency. They can dedicate all their time to you and they can really invest in your mental health. You can take that time off. You can write that book. You can launch that newsletter. So I just try to say, like, it's okay to shoot for the stars, but everything that, glitz isn't always glamour. So, and I had to learn that the hard way, y'all. So that's why I say that.
I totally agree with you on that. And the other thing I will mention about those bigger agencies is once you get to like a UTA or DBA level, typically you're also going to start having other management, or you might also have an agent. And for anybody on this call that doesn't know the difference, having a talent manager, again, manages like your day to day, campaign negotiation, all of that. But the agent is the one that brings you the work. And the second that you involve an agent, your manager's cut either gets like split in half or it gets less. So if they're 20%, they might go to 10, and then the agent gets 10%. And so I know there's a lot of like controversy that maybe some of the talent managers on the call can talk about with all of that. But when you are usually at that level of like UTA or WME, you're going to have multiple people involved. And so I don't know how that works because that gets stressful personally. And yeah, that's it.
Gigi, I'm wondering if you can, or anyone else on the call, if you can elaborate on that. What is the difference between an agent and a talent manager?
Yeah, to my knowledge and in my experience, the agent is basically like, I guess like they're going to be the person like with the listings, essentially, if we're thinking about it from a real estate perspective. Like, here's all of these listings that you can, buy a house or, get this property or that property. And then your manager is like the agent, the person that basically is going in and brokering the deal for you. Yeah, to my knowledge and in my experience, that's what I'm sure it is.
I think it also has to do with the agency or the talent management agency, that you're working with as well. Because in the cases that I've had with two separate agencies, they've been my talent manager and agent in one. So I feel like it really just depends on who it is that you're interested in signing with, and what it is that they have negotiated on their end. So it's like if they were asking me like, hey, it's going to be 15%. However, they divided up that 15% once I gave it to them is on them. That was their business. But it really just depends, like I said, on the kind of agent or management agency, that you're looking to sign with.
Sorry, I just wanted to add a comment onto the last question I think that you asked, Jade, about what advice would you give to someone that's looking for talent management and what should they look for? And the point I wanted to add was look for someone or for an agency that shares the same values as you, because I think they'll be very concerned about where you're headed. I think even Gigi mentioned it, whereby they were pitching her for something that she didn't represent. As I said, for example, I am an advocate for mental health. There's a lot of people that don't even in this day and age, I don't see mental health as a big thing. So because of that, I cannot go and put myself under somebody that doesn't stand for that, because they won't push me in that avenue. So I think you have to go for someone that literally has the same values as you, especially on social media where things are so trendy. My manager knows there's certain trends she cannot even what's the word? She cannot advise me to do, because she just knows it doesn't fit my niche, it doesn't fit my brand. But if you're with a talent manager who is concerned just about your money and making sure you're growing financially, everything that comes their way, they'll push towards you, if that makes sense. But when you have someone that's literally focused on who you are and is aligned to your values, I think that also helps with your growth. It helps with how much you even flourish under their management. So I think finding someone who cares about you and shares the same values as you, that really does help with management.
That actually
I
just
just
reminds me, Maggie, something that you said about paying attention to like the agency. Another big thing, I know someone mentioned it earlier, but also like really looking at the roster that they have. Now, if they have 49 people ahead of you and everyone looks the exact same, to me, that's a red flag. I feel like they're not capable of representing multiple multiple people that look different, sound different, walk, talk, all these kinds of things. So I feel like that's always like a light bulb that kind of goes off in my head as well. Like just paying attention to the roster. Like for me, my last agency, I'll use them as like a prime example. I feel like most of the girls that were ahead of me or, signed before me all had like curly hair and were into makeup. So then for me coming on, I'm like, all right, if I'm looking to move into a different route or going in a different direction with my career, how is this going to help me signing to this agency that has, like I said, a plethora of other girls who look the exact same? So make sure that you're paying attention to the roster to really, see how you would also fit into that.
the onus is. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. Can I say something, Jade?
Yeah, go ahead, Joanna.
Okay. The onus absolutely is on both parties doing tons of research and spending time flirting, dating, literally like just getting to know one another. All these things that we're talking about, the values, the alignment, how they're going to pitch you, how they're going to care about you. Are you number 48 on their roster? Or are you number 1 on their roster in terms of profiles? And are they boutique? Are they big? None of these answers can be found in a half hour, a 1 hour, 2 1 hour conversations. I personally, because I have a boutique agency and of my creators that I represent, we call ourselves an agency family. We have monthly Zoom meetings, we do in-person retreats. Like we're so intimately connected that it really matters to me the people that I bring onto my roster, because that energy, like I do not want that apple cart to be upset and everyone's kind of gotta just like vibe and be together. So as a manager, because I know there's some managers and people that are interested in listening to this audio, it is also on us to do a ton of research and spend time with the prospective talent. I don't know any other word, but like any other way to describe it other than just kind of like each of us putting the other person through our paces, right? Like schedule a call. You as the prospective talent, ask me all these questions. Ask me what my expectations are of you. Ask me what your expectations are of the manager. Past success stories. I can't remember who suggested that. Like that's always a great question. How do you see me going? What do you see about, my industry? What do you see about my rates? What are some interesting things interesting trends that you're seeing in the agency? From a manager perspective, how do you take feedback? How do you take direction? How are you, talking about money? These are all questions like I jump into, and I have a motto. It's like how you do business is how you do business. And if someone is showing up and they're, open and interested and vibing and like excited and asking me good questions, and I'm like, oh, they did their research, it like continues to want to make me keep dating them, and vice versa. I hope the same for them. But I spend a lot of time onboarding people because it is a huge investment from both sides. And, there's people here have spoken about bouncing from, one management company to another and not having it be the right fit. In the best case scenario, you don't have that situation, because that's just a lot of time spent that you're not able to get up and running as a creator. And then it's a lot of time spent and invested as a manager into someone. And then, you part ways for whatever reason. So I encourage people to really do a lot of that research. I am dumbfounded at the number of people who slide into my DMs or email me and they're like, hi, I'm ready for a manager. Will you be my manager? And I'm like, you literally don't even know a single thing about me. Like it fascinates me. So just please, please, please do loads and loads and loads of research. If you want them to be your manager, like it will work out time-wise and vice versa.
Yeah, just
that,
adding something quick onto that is that I've noticed is, so I've worked with two like pretty household name talent agencies, the one I'm at and one that I left, and then another one that was a boutique manager. The one thing I will say that's like a pro of the big agencies is sometimes it's like, oh, you have your like big agency email and whatever, and you have all the brands that you have access to, and you have all of their maybe like resources or networking connections. Like that's the good thing. The bad thing about it for some can be that, again, there's too many people there, and that they aren't fully invested in you, and they're just taking you on to like basically take your commission or take commission off of brand deals from you. Having a small and also, sorry, that they might not be working like as hard for you versus because they're on salary, like the manager's on salary at a big talent agency versus a boutique talent manager is going to usually put in as much as you're putting in because they're working for themselves, and it's basically like they have to hustle to the point of like making money for you, or they'll just not. And maybe that's because they're, overwhelmed or whatever. But in my experience working with a boutique talent manager, it unfortunately was the latter, where she kind of was like using me to promote herself instead of the other way around. So I just want to bring that up because that can happen.
Something that Joanna said earlier about doing research, I think it also comes down to management agencies also being upfront. Someone said that earlier about being upfront about what it is that they can also deliver as well. So I think with that comes a lot of conversation. It's a lot of research. And one thing I think that creators should definitely look for when doing like their research or having these conversations is like, if you are looking to sign with this specific agency, you both come down to these terms like, listen, we're willing to represent you, X, Y, and Z, whatever the case may be. Maybe you could set a time limit on that and be like, listen, I'm going to give it 3 months to see like what happens within those 3 months. Because just as much as it's a trial for them to see if you're going to be a fit for their agency, it's also a trial for creators to see if this is the best representative, for them and their brand as well. So yeah, it's a lot of research that goes into it, a lot of conversations, but also it's trial and error, unfortunately.
Love that. All right, y'all. So we have about 15 minutes left, and I do want to open up the convo to anyone from the audience who has questions or additional insights that they want to share. So if you do, you can just raise your hand and I'll pull you up on the mic. If no one has any questions, I'll go back to asking the panelists questions. Okay, so while we wait for that, I do have a question that I want to go back to, and Joanna, you might be the best person to ask this. So obviously, as we discussed, creators can get a lot out of having a relationship with the TM, like helping you behind the scenes, negotiating your contracts, even helping you plan out your social media strategy or growing your brand or those special projects like you guys were kind of mentioning earlier. But I'm curious of what do talent managers kind of get in return from that relationship?
Oh golly, so many things. I mean, speaking personally, I have made some of the dearest friends with my talent, and I could not imagine my life and world without them because we're so intimately connected. I think it was Maggie said beyond, it's 24 hours. So we like know all the different things that are going on in their lives, all the different projects they're launching, cookbooks, kitchen renovations. Like I'm there for all of it. So that's just genuinely incredibly fulfilling. And those brand collabs that we're able to negotiate, that we're able to do really well, like we continue to help elevate each other. And so the more eyes that I have on me as an agency, either as, just Joanna Voss on like LinkedIn, for example, more people looking at my profile, it's like all roads lead back to me as a talent manager. And so bringing eyeballs onto my talent because of past successes, because of my name in the industry, because of any reputation I had and the agency connections that I have, bringing those eyeballs back to my agency helps the rest of my creators, because I'm able to say, hey, I've also got this creator, or, you know, I'm constantly referring talent that I don't recommend, that I don't represent. If they're looking for other creators beyond mine, or if I don't have anyone that fits, I'm able to, you know, pass those opportunities along. So just sort of being able to, like, I guess, give back to the industry to continue to keep the flow moving in a very positive, exciting way to support people doing really good projects. I, you know, have a pretty strong policy of always only referring influencers of color and shining as many spotlights and opportunities as I can onto them. And so having successful projects, like, the more that I can do that, it's like this cycle that just kind of, you know, closed loop kind of continues to feed and support itself, which, you know, I love my agency. I love what I do. I wouldn't have one, obviously, without my creators. But having that just, like, continuous positive loop of being able to give to the industry and to continue to, you know, drive it and give feedback and impact in these, you know, small little ways that I can, I think continues to lift up the whole industry, my creators, and, you know, anyone I'm sort of networked and connected with.
Beautiful. That was so heartwarming. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. I am slightly obsessed with my creators, if you know me. So
it's funny because my brain immediately went, like, more tactical. I was like, do you get money out of it? But you were like, no, not the feel in the community. That's beautiful.
No. And it's interesting because I have a, like, my God, what's the word? Oh, community of other female talent managers. Mm-hmm. And we, even this week, we're talking about how we don't try and monetize. Like, I don't monetize any referrals. I don't have the time or the energy to, like, okay, you know, Ashley, were you hired for the campaign? And, like, did it happen? And, you know, you're waiting to hear, and then I'm nagging you. And it's like, I do not have time for that. So we all talk about how we just, like, happily give and believe in, like, the karma's going to come back, and it's just for the greater good.
And it will. That's beautiful. Thank you, Joanna. So we did have a few questions from the audience. I brought up Kayla and Brittany. And Kayla, you were first. So go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, everyone. So I had a question. I had reached out to a talent group, and I was just kind of interested in, I guess, kind of building my brand more. And they had mentioned to me that they required talent who already had experience with paid collaborations. And I guess my question is, like, is that a typical step when trying to work with, like, a talent group or a talent agency? And just kind of maybe what are the beginning things that you kind of need to have before you should even reach out to someone?
I think it really varies on the agency, because, like, I feel like every agency has, like, their own set of, like, requirements. They might be unspoken in a sense to us, you know, from the public side of it, but they have, like, a usual list of requirements that they're looking for. So with an agency like that, they want to make sure that the person that they're going to bring on has their own motion going, essentially, and they're not just going to be, you know, focused on trying to necessarily build from the ground up, if that makes sense. They kind of want to come in already while something's already rolling so that they can kind of work from there. But I've, you know, come across agencies that are like, oh, we want creators to have at least 100K on Instagram, 100K on TikTok, you know, is doing X amount of content a week, is already bringing in X amount of deals a month and things like that. So I feel like they all vary from agency to agency.
Just piggybacking off of what Ashley said. Oh, go ahead, Joanna.
Oh, no, Brianna, you go. I've spoken more. Go ahead.
I'm screaming. She's so far away.
Just going off of what Ashley said, I would personally recommend or even encourage creators, if you don't already, to start creating brand relevant content that's non-sponsored. I think that's such a great way to, like, show brands that you already create organic content within the vertical that you're trying to get into, and just show, like, how well that would resonate with your audience. So I think that would be really, really great.
Oh, you ate with that one, Brianna. That was a really good tip.
I was just going to say that. And I was just gonna say that real quick because I know Joanna, you want to go. When I first started out, Kayla, I kid you not, every agency that I was reaching out to, like, you have to have 5 figures, 6 figures. And what I started doing was creating a whole bunch of branded content and putting paid partnership at the top and acted like I actually had paid partnerships. Because it's not like they were verifying it in the beginning. And now they might, but that's what I was doing in the beginning, just to be able to show like, hey, I work with brands. And eventually I started working with those brands. So I guess you can say you're manifesting it in a sense. But yeah, don't be afraid to finesse the system because they eventually going to finesse you too.
Period.
Yeah, it might be a little like fake it till you make it, kind of show them what you're all about. Speaking as a manager who does have a very small boutique agency, I do ask for creators and look for creators to be around 80,000, 100,000 in a year in paid brand partnerships. I'm not like, beholden to it. And here's why though, is it is incredibly hard to get a talent on a brand's radar, right? There's a ton of competition, there's new people in the space every single day. Brands have a ton of tools that they sift through to find creators on their own. And so it is unsustainable for me to bring on someone who is not yet earning money. And like I can't run my business off that. I earn my 20% off of all the things that I close. And majority of opportunities that come in for my clients, off on my roster, we say no, and I imagine most of the other creators will probably agree to this, that we say no to 85-90%, because it's some combination of like crappy spam, or the timing doesn't work, or the budget doesn't work, or just like not brand alignment. So most of my time of that 20% that I earn isn't just for the collaborations that I close, but it's for all the time I spend on collaborations and stuff that doesn't come to fruition. So if someone is not yet earning money, it's just doesn't financially make sense for a manager to take them on. And I know there's a lot of people who are always like, oh my God, you take all their money, and it's not that. From my perspective, it is, I do my best work when I'm able to elevate and grow and kind of leapfrog off of your progress. If you've done that level of partnerships, I know that you have connections, I know that you have a network, I know that you have a reputation in the space. That gives me leverage and something to go back on. When I partner with someone, I'm like, cool, let's go back, we'll go through everyone you've worked with in the past 12 to 18 months, because most people don't follow up. So let's go back, make intros to them. Do I already know them? Say hi. I will get on a call with them. Oh my gosh, I already know them. I worked with them last week. Oh, this is so cool. Let me just tell them about you now. So I spend a ton of time building out your network, introducing you to mine, and just trying to like help, build upon all the stuff that you've grown and done. If you're earning around 100K, again, in my book, you have experience. I'm not going to be hand-holding you through what it looks like to get a brief, to follow along, to do a paid collaboration. Like that is also a lot of work that I just do not have time and capacity for. So knowing that you're at that level, I'm like, cool, we can partner and immediately just like jump in and get going. You have rates that I can work with and perhaps negotiate a little bit higher. And also just financially doesn't make sense for someone who is earning, $30,000, $40,000. If you take out the 20% that we earn as managers, you're taking home less overhead. Like sometimes it honestly just comes down to a math thing about running a business.
Yeah, thank you for that, because I do think that's helpful context to add on like the other side of it, just like what is sustainable for a talent manager or talent management agency and the creators that they're investing in. Kayla, I hope those answered your questions.
Yes, thank you guys.
Thank you. And then we have time for one more. Oh, there we go. Okay, we have time for one more question. Brittany, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. So this question is a two-parter, but I'm going to be very quick, I promise. My first question is, so my experience relatively over the last 6 or 7 years has been on the influencer manager talent side as well as the brand side. And so through my platform, Influencer League, we are more educators and like sponsorship coaches. And so I'm that person in between when a creator is trying to find management and hasn't found management yet. I'm there to help them negotiate their, contracts, negotiate their brand deals, help them secure. And then at that point, they take the management on through themselves until they can move on and find a manager. So I'm there kind of like in the middle. And so a lot more lately, I've been getting questions of creators who are looking for more people to kind of exist in that middle space until they can find a management agency. So they're kind of just moderate, and sometimes they're larger influencers as well. But I'm seeing more people come to me asking for help in learning how to become a talent manager. And maybe it's because, the Influencer League is more of an educational platform, but we don't offer that type of education. And so my first question is, what are, if any of you all are aware, what resources out there are there for, either more junior level creators or people on the agency side who's looking to make that pivot to talent management? What resources are out there for them to learn? And then secondly, in my agency role, it's more of a senior level role. People who are looking to leave the agency side in that senior level role and pivot into becoming a talent manager, what resources have you all seen that I can point them in that direction, if that makes sense?
I'm going to ask only that one person jumps on this because we are running out of time. So one person from the panelists, whoever wants to take it.
I'll jump in. I would love to know the answer to this question as well, Brittany. I have a number of people who reach out to me that are also looking to become a manager. I sort of fell into it and actually writing a blog article literally this week about how to start an influencer talent management agency and sharing my story. I've been trying to create as much content as possible on the website for exactly this reason, and am all ears if people know other resources because I'd love a place to point them. So I do a portion of my blog, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to answer this.
Well, Joanna, maybe we got to make something shake if it's not already out there or in abundance. But
I'm all ears. Yes.
Jen, I was actually going to ask you to come a little bit closer to your mic if you are still talking, because you sound kind of a little frayed out a little bit.
Was that for me?
Is it just me, or can everyone hear Joanna talking clearly?
Not clear at all.
Okay, does anyone else want to take have like another POV on Brittany's question?
And if not, that's perfectly fine. I've been finding it harder to give these resources out to people, and I don't manage talent full time. I only have like 2 influencer clients outside of education. So it's like, if there's something that, if this silence means that there's something that needs to be created to help newer or even senior level, people in the industries make this pivot to talent management, hey, then that's just what we got to do. And so
that's the avenue for you, girl. Go ahead and make that money and make up a new product.
Exactly.
Period. If y'all see something, it Jayde, we got Jayde to thank for that.
Well, thanks, y'all. Okay, everyone. So we are out of time, but I wanted to thank everyone who joined for today's episode, especially the panelists. Obviously, I appreciate your transparency and just like willingness to be so open and contribute to this conversation. Obviously, it's so valuable to everyone on the call, including myself. Additionally, I just want to say I'll be uploading a replay of this episode to creatorttalk.com early next week. I will say I think a bit of the beginning got cut out a little bit, so hopefully that doesn't mess up the flow. But if you do want updates, you can subscribe to Loose Leaf, which is also the Creator Tea Talk newsletter, and you can subscribe at creatorttalk.com as well. So thank you for everyone joining. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and I appreciate everyone that tuned in today. Bye.
Bye.